Okay? So we're talking about roughly 10 years after Jesus died, this idea of the beginning of a Halloween celebration coming into being through a group of people called the Celtics. Okay? And through the Celtics, what began to happen is, and I just got like brief notes down here about it, but what began to happen is that they began to believe that they had an opportunity to meet the spirit realm of those who have died before them. Okay? So they would practice these things around May of every year that caused them to be able, or what we might call today as being seances, or celebration in which in the spirit realm they could meet the dead, those who died before them. The Romans, who were at this point Christians, or many of the Roman Catholic Church that came out of Rome, even though they killed Jesus, they also was the most mature Christians post-Jesus, oddly enough. The people who were responsible for putting the seal of approval, if you will, of the Jews killing Jesus was the same place, Rome, where Christianity grew the fastest. Okay? The book of Romans, which is where we get our theology from today. I want to kind of put in perspective who we're talking about. Well, the Romans conquered the Celtics. They had their territory. And they didn't disband this holiday, if you will, in May, that celebrated this remembrance of people who were before through spirit mediums. So they began to celebrate this as well, but their goal was to reach those who were of God that went before. Like we might have a memorial service today for somebody who, went before us. Okay? So they would have had a celebration of Martin Luther King or John F. Kennedy or something like that as part of their thing if they were Christians and part of the church. They would have that as part of the celebration at the same time that this tradition was to bring back the dead in this May Day. Okay? They called this day, the Christians did, All Saints Day. That was the first name for Halloween. They called it All Saints Day. Well, not for Halloween, because you understand when I go. But it's All Saints Day was the day that they celebrated those who had went before them. This date got moved, as you see in number D, from May 13th to November 1st. They moved the date in order to celebrate All Saints Day. So Halloween became October 31st because those folks who were non-Christians didn't want to hang out with the Christians on November 1st and celebrate those who went before them. So they started hanging out on October 31st, and they call it All Saints Eve. Okay? Why was it moved to November? A man named Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther, who had a big impact in coming up against the Roman church at that time, that he posted these things on the door, I don't know why it's escaping me what they call them, on the door of the Catholic Church that called to the carpet the things that the Catholic Church was doing that was unbiblical and ungodly. One of which was that they were charging people for forgiveness of sins. When you think about the booth, a Catholic Church having a confessional booth, well, that has some history to it. You used to have to go in the confessional booth and pay the priest in order to be forgiven for sins. So that was one of the things he addressed, Martin Luther, when he banged these things up against the door of the Catholic Church. This name, Luther, think about it, Martin Luther led a group of people who started the Lutheran Church. Okay? That's where they came from. So he did this on November 1st. And that's why they moved the date. And he was called a man of, check this out, Reformation. He was a reformist in the Christian church. He reformed the very ideal about what church used to be. Okay? This is not how you're supposed to do church. This is how you're supposed to do church. Reformation. Now you know a little bit about history of your church, where that name comes from. Okay? And so, in this Reformation Day, this All Saints Day, again, those who were bringing back the spirits of the lost from an evil standpoint decided to have their celebration then on October 31st, which now comes to be what we know as Halloween. All of this took place in Europe. All of this took place across the sea. None of this was America until America began in the 1800s.